Okay, in this video I'm going to go through some of the practice problems. Right now I'm in the third set of practice problems, and I'm going to start with these two, 9 and 10. Okay, so for this first one, I have these two premises, and my conclusion is if B, then D. So my plan of attack is going to be to, well, first, because I want a conditional, I'm going to begin by making B my assumption. So now I see that if I get this biconditional on a line by itself, then I can use the B that I have here in line 3 to do biconditional elim. That will get me A on a line by itself. And if I do double negation on A, then I'll be able to do wedge elim on line 1 here, and that will get me D. And with that, I'll be able to get my conditional. Okay, so recall that to use disjunction elimination, I have to have, of course, one line that has a disjunction, so that's not A or D. And then on another line, I need to have the negation of 1/2 of the disjunction. So here I have not A. A on line 5 is the opposite of not A. That's basically what we want. But what I really need is not A with one more not in front of it. So that's why I had to use the double negation rule to get not A here on line 6. Now that I have that, I can do wedge elim with lines 1 and 6. That gets me D, which of course is the consequent of my conditional. So back against the main line of the proof here, I'm going to put B arrow D, conditional introduction, lines 3 through 7. Okay, here I have one premise, if P, then if Q, then R, and my conclusion is if P and Q, then R. Okay, so this is pretty similar to one that I think I've shown you already, except that in this case, my assumption should be P and Q, because that's the antecedent of my conditional. Okay, so now I can use P and Q just as I would anytime. So I'm going to do and elimination. Okay, so I have P on a line by itself. That means that I can do conditional elimination and get Q arrow R. That's lines 1 and 3. Okay, another and elim gets me Q. And I want Q so that I can do so that I can do conditional elimination on line 4. Okay, so R is the consequent of my conditional, so I'm done with the subproof. And just to remind you, so for all of this from lines 2 through 6, I've been indenting 2 spaces before I put anything on the line. Now, I'm not going to indent. I'm going to go back against this main line of the main vertical line of the proof and put first my assumption, P and Q in parentheses, then arrow R. It's conditional introduction, and the full range of the subproof is 2 through 6. All right, next, let me go here. Okay, this is a good one. Oops. Okay, so I have these two premises, and my conclusion is if A, then B. Okay, so I'm going to begin by making A my assumption. So now with A, I see that I can, if I get A wedge D, then I can do biconditional elim. And of course I can get, with A here on line 3, I can get A wedge D because I can use the disjunction introduction rule. Wedge intro on line 3. Okay, so now I have this side of the biconditional, and so that means that I can put B or C on line 5. Okay, so I have B or C. Up here I have not C, and I want B, so I'm going to bring the not C down and elim line 1. Okay, so here I can do disjunction elimination. I've got C in my disjunction. I've got not C here, so I don't need to use double negation or anything. I can just do B wedge elim lines 5 and 6. Okay, so B is the consequent of my conditional, so arrow intro lines 3 through 7. Okay, so in this one I have two premises, A, if and only if C then D, and then D and not B, and I want to get A. And I actually have this hint here that we do need to use conditional introduction, even though we're not going to have a conditional in our conclusion. We're just going to need to use conditional introduction somewhere in the middle of our proof. Okay, so we know the assumption is going to be C, so that tells me I'm going to get this conditional. If I assume C, then of course I can bring this D down in my subproof and get C arrow D, and then I can do biconditional elim and get A, which of course is my conclusion. Okay, so a little simple subproof there got me C arrow D. And so, as I said, now I can do biconditional elim with lines 1 and 5, and that will get me A, which is the conclusion. Okay, I'm going to stop there. If you have any questions, of course, you can email me, and good luck.